Hi guys, it's SJ. Welcome on over. My name's SJ. I'm a mum of 3 and I do loads of gentle parenting, kind of positive discipline it's called as well, videos here on my YouTube channel because it's like my favourite style of parenting, and there's quite a few books out there and articles, but there's more and more people chatting about it, which is really nice, I find, because I've been a mum for 10 years now. My oldest is 10 and then I've got a little toddler as well, and it's just kind of been something that gradually, the more and more I've practiced it, the more rewards I've gotten back to just having a really peaceful, calm family dynamic. So there's tons of things to do, and it does take practice. Like, it doesn't always come naturally to me, and I'm quite a calm character in general, but it's still quite tough, especially at the moment, especially during, you know, the end of, we're in lockdown here in England at the moment, full lockdown. So we're with our kids all the time and there's going to be pressure points, and today I wanted to talk specifically about how to teach children manners the modern way. And the reason I say the modern way is because I was reading stuff about manners recently, because respect and having a house that's full of respect is super duper important to me, and it's my one thing that my husband would tell you flips me. Like, I will shout if I'm consistently put under children being disrespectful to me, moaning at me, saying that, you know, just getting at me. That's one thing that will really get at me. So I feel that comes down to manners, but then we're looking up manners. I don't agree with so many of the things that they tell you to teach your children. Like, you must say please and thank yous, you know, knock on a closed door, don't interrupt an adult, wait until you're asked to be spoken or whatever, or sit still at the dinner table the whole time, you know, and all these manners that actually are so old-fashioned, and we need to re-modernise, retake control of manners as modern mums with children that we want better relationships with as well. Like, sometimes, you know, people didn't have great, easy childhoods or felt they were in a very strict home, and it affects you. And actually, I want my home to be a place where everyone is respected, everyone is loved and knows their self-worth, and that comes down to manners a lot. So anyway, I will get on with my modern day manners. Let me know what you think of them. I'm really just chatting, you know, these are just stuff that I've written down as I was looking a little bit about it, so just kind of stuff that I've thought up, but it will give you some tips throughout the day as well, sort of my crunch points. So the first thing is around, I'm going to say, modelling it, of course. So, you know, there's that classic quote of, you don't learn kindness by being told to be kind, you learn kindness through experiencing kindness. And I love that quote. You know, that is the total flip. If you wanted like the kind of poster, what is gentle parenting all about, that's pretty much it. It's about acting and behaving towards people and children specifically, not being in control of your children, but loving them and showing them the respect that you want back. So all these are kind of incorporate that, but that's kind of my number one thing, but it's hard. Oh yes, it's hard. So I'm actually going to start with dinner time, because I feel like meals are the place where manners seem most important, or were most important to us growing up, and also the time when can be really stressful part of our day, particularly at home all the time, just constantly cooking and serving up meals. And you want that, when you spend that time to create a meal and do the meal planning and spending money on that food, you want it to be respected and you want it to be appreciated a bit more. I do. So have a think about what your dinner timetable rules are going to be. Like, my kids, it is really hard to say sit still at the dinner table the whole time, and if you find that you're constantly saying that, or getting the screens out. My kids really love to have screens at the dinner table, and we do occasionally, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes we'll have something on for them to watch if it's the end of a long day or whatever, before the end of the week. But one thing that I found really works is, instead of telling them to sit still, it's enabling them to sit still by adding a game to it. So we play tons of I Spy. It is such a simple little hack or trick to do, but when you sit down for dinner, taking turns to play I Spy, and I guarantee if you're anything like my family, they sit there for the whole meal. The pressure's off the food as well, because they sit down and they don't sort of look at the meal and kind of start to have a little think about, I don't want to eat that, I might, you know how they are. They just sit down, and the first thing they do is start saying, oh, who's going first for I Spy? And then they'll just naturally eat at their own speed, and I don't point out what they're eating or what speed they're eating it at. I just try to keep an eye and make sure that everything kind of gets eaten in their own speed. So I Spy, or reading to them, they love books while they're eating, takes the pressure off them without you having just to say sit still. And that's the flip. It's you know, people often say children need a good talking to, but actually we say children need a good listening to these days, and the behaviour is something to listen to and adapt things yourself, not just tell them what to change. Second thing that we do at meal times is we have one rule. So I found that we had so many rules for dinner time, and it was like, sit still, put your knife and fork together at the end. That was my husband's random rule. You're very posh. You know, take your plate out, do this, do this, do this, and it's kind of suddenly taking what should be a highlight of the day into a kind of a stressful kind of way. I have to sort of do all these little things or I'll get kind of told off. So I'm trying to stick with one rule, and my one rule is we all stay at the table till everybody's finished. We've had that rule since the kids were old enough, you know, since it was age appropriate. Obviously a little tiny toddler's not going to have to stay there until their 10-year-old brother finishes eating, for example, but now we all stay at the table till everyone's finished, and I think that shows a respect around the table of everybody, and that was our one rule. And then as they've got older, they're at the point where the eldest obviously will be taking his cups and plates and putting it in the dishwasher, and then he'll also often go and get the puddings for everybody, or dessert puddings, is that very English, and bring it out for everybody. Evelina will help me put the plates on the table before, so they all have their own little job going on, but I've just added those as it became age appropriate. So if you are having stresses around manners at dinner table, just think what is important and what can I do to enable it, rather than just telling it. So the next thing is around pleases and thank yous, and I might be a bit on my own here, so I'm interested to see what you think, but it's not a massive thing for me. I feel like if you look at kids' books or anything like that, people are constantly going on about how to teach your kids to say please and thank you, and of course it's very important to be polite, but you can be polite just by asking rather than telling someone to do something, and that is my big thing. Especially even when I was at work and I was a boss, I was always like made sure I asked people rather than told them what to do, because I think that's when you're creating what's better underneath the please and thank you, which is a genuine offer of help, like a genuine want to help somebody out or do something on behalf of somebody else. And that's the only reason why we want to say please and thank you, because somebody's done something meaningful that deserves it. So I feel like this swap, this language flip for gentle parenting, is to make sure you're asking your kids rather than telling them what to do. So it might be, Finn, please can I ask you to take your plate out now that you've finished dinner and pop it in the dishwasher. And then when he's done it, I can then say thank you because I've asked you, then I thank you for it, rather than take your plate to the dishwasher. You know, like rather than just telling them what to do, it doesn't give you the opportunity to model the genuine thank you. And then what happens is the more they do that and that becomes their habit, they'll start just to take their plates out and I can say thank you, you took your plate to the dishwasher without even being asked. And I've really started saying that a lot more, doing the ask rather than the command, and I've noticed that they are picking up a lot more of that language as well. So then it doesn't flip my switch when they will politely say, can I have a glass of water, rather than get me a glass of water. You know, the please and thank you is kind of irrelevant as long as they're respectfully asking an adult or anyone around them to do what it is they want, and it will serve them longer in real life. Next up is the being respectful and interrupting adults when they're talking. And yeah, it is so irritating, particularly at the moment when we're all working from home. Often I'm on a phone call, or you might even be talking like their teacher or something, and then there's just all this screaming and yelling for you in the background. So it is very hard for children to understand, and they'll grow and learn it, but you can't expect them to always know, like to wait for their need. It's very difficult for children, in the same way that, you know, you might say to them, I popped them in the toilet, you need to go, no, then 2 minutes later they do need to go, and it's so annoying for us, but that is just kind of age appropriate for kids, and the more kind of forgiving we can be and going at their pace, the better. So I do believe in there's places and times when behaviour is going to change. So for example, like I was always brought up going to church, and I knew I had to behave in a certain way at church, I know I have to behave in a certain way at school, but home, kind of, it's more difficult, isn't it? Because that's your mum, and if you need your mum, you need your mum sometimes. So how do you do it? So I would often, it's all preparation, like everything. It's telling them I'm going to be on the phone call for an hour now. It's a work phone call. It's going to be lots of adults on this phone call, so I won't be able to immediately help you with anything. Obviously trying to get them everything they need beforehand never works. So how do you actually teach them to interrupt you? Because ultimately they're going to interrupt you. So it's just about saying put your hand up if you need me, and then the trick is to immediately respond. So if you're like, no, then they will just start to wail and they won't go back to that polite way of doing it that you've taught them or asked them to do, which is putting their hand up. So you must respond. So I've done this when I've been to, like, we've been at big family gatherings, loads of grown-ups, and said to them, you might feel a little bit ignored. If you need me, don't come and tug on my leg, just put your hand up, and then I'll immediately say something. Oh, sorry, I can see that Finn wants me right now, just a minute. No one cares. I've told them, and then I've paid attention to my child. Problem sorted. It comes with the ignoring, and little signs you can do, like if they need the toilet, just to do like a tea, because sometimes my kids come and find me and then ask me, can I go to the toilet? And I'm like, you literally were next to the toilet. So kind of just little things like that, but teach them the politeness, but then respond straight away, and that will get them to keep doing it. And then you can talk to them about well done and their patience. So I did talk about patience recently. It is a really big skill that I'm working on with my youngest, my little girl. So when she says that, oh, can we do Play-Doh? I'll say, yes, we're gonna do Play-Doh in 1 minute after I've done the dishes. Like I'm obsessed with dishes in this video. And then I'll just make sure to give myself a little pause where I'm doing something, keeping myself busy. She'll wait, and then I say, well done, you were so patient then. And teaching them the word patience and the kind of that it's, you know, patience is a virtue, is really nice to use the actual word rather than just waiting, because waiting isn't as positive as patience. If you get patience into your language and their language as a positive thing to do, it will serve them well. And last step is just kind of general respect, and having a respect for home, because that's what politeness is and manners are, is showing respect. And this is where parents often, we have to rechange how we were brought up, because I don't think that previous generations, they weren't expected to work as much as mums do now, or play as much as mums do now, and give their children all this encouragement and enrichment. You know, we're really the first generation of mums who are like really taking it all on our shoulders so much. But respect is massive for me, and as I said, it will be the one thing that will make me flip more than anything else if I'm being disrespected. So the way to do it though is, if you're in the front foreground of somebody being disrespectful to you, is to avoid at any cost being disrespectful back. So it is a bit like taking that moral high ground, but I would say, I don't raise my voice at you, so you don't raise your voice at me. So I'm super firm as a mum. I think my kids would say I'm very firm, but there are boundaries there, and then they know that we don't have a shouty house. I don't shout at them, and I will not let them shout at me. And that's a good phrase you can use, I will not let you shout at me. But then I don't punish. I don't necessarily now go to your room. I'll maybe walk away myself or whatever, but I feel like having the conversation is, and setting that boundary and that limit continuously is really important. And if there's any squabbling or hitting in the household, then I'm very clear that I come down like a ton of bricks and stuff like that as well. But when I say coming down like a ton of bricks, it's probably not that in anyone else's books, but for me it would be, you know, I'm very firm when I say nobody deserves to get hit or called names in their own home. And I've talked a lot to my children about this being our own home. This is the place where we are most valued, we're most respected, we can be most ourselves, we can make all our mistakes, but we respect each other, and nobody should ever have to be in their own home being kicked, punched or called names. And when that does happen, that is a conversation we have, and they really understand that. And I think for kids, you know, home is massively important, and we're here so much at the moment, so it's an important thing. It's not my house, my rules, you're under my roof. It's nobody in their own home should have to experience that type of behaviour against them. And that's the way I talk about it, and I find that really, really positively powerful with my children. And my children are genuinely really nicely behaved and play together really nicely. And lastly, you know, if I'm out of the room and then you suddenly hear one child's crying, one stormed off, you're not really sure what's happened, is talking to them. I can see there's been a big argument, what's happened, and then always asking them to resolve their own issues. And I think that shows a real respect, because rather than punishing them, especially when I haven't seen what's happened, I say to them, you know, okay, we can't play, we can't carry on with anything else now until we've made Freddie feel better, because he's upset right now. Can you go and make amends? And they're getting used to the way of, as soon as somebody's upset, and I hear them do it now when I'm not there, and it's so sweet, where I can hear them, one of them start to get upset or angry, then I can hear the other one go, okay, sorry, we'll stop the game, what is it, what's wrong, let's do something else. And they'll start to try and look after each other automatically, because they know that's what I'm going to do. So if they knew that if they came to me they're about to get punished, then they'll storm off their bedroom, slam the door, communication's gone. They know that I'm going to come down and ask them to resolve it between the two of them. They just get on with that now. So it's a really lovely way of overhearing them be respectful and give that respect to each other. and give that respect to home. Basically, we respect our home and we respect our family and we love each other. So those are my kind of ideas on teaching kids manners in a more modern way, which has taken me 4 times to say. I think it's been interesting for me. Like, I sat down today and I was just reading them and I was just thinking, put my own, how would I deal with that in a way that feels much more my style of parenting and more in harmony with how I want my children to be raised by me. So I hope it's been some food for thought for you guys as well. Let's have a think some more stuff like sharing, all that kind of stuff. That we always chat, and there's like a messages, comments bit below which we can all chat in. And I love to read your ideas as well, and any other videos like this, topics and stuff that you've been thinking about. I'd love to make videos on those as well, so let me know those. I would love it if you subscribed. It really helps me out to get thumbs up and subscribers on my channel, and I want to do as much kind of spread the positive parenting stuff as much as I can, because I'm just finding it so helpful for me this last year. So yes, I will speak to you in a bit in the messages below. Take care and thanks for watching.